Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to
Hi.
Applebee's.
Welcome back. I
Could
thought
I
we were at
interest
Chili's,
you?
but okay.
Yeah. No, we're at Applebee's. Chili's be damned. We are at Applebee's.
I can make Applebee's work.
So today we are here to talk about not Russ's favorite dining restaurants, as opposed to swimming restaurants. I don't know why.
Yeah, I do like
Bowling
to
restaurants.
swim. I like to swim at Applebee's.
We're here today to talk about Dragon Quest.
We are
4.
here to talk about Dragon Quest 4/Dragon
Dragon
Warrior
Warrior
4
The Warriorist.
Chapters of the Chosen.
Electric Boogaloo. I don't know.
So we'll go ahead and try and pull ourselves together by diving into personal history.
So we're back to my personal history. I feel like you should just put like a notation on the episodes that's like Russ's personal history is he played this game when he was a child and now he's played it again.
But do you have any notable
as an
memories
adult,
from playing it as a child?
Don't really. I've probably said this before, but my first RPG was Final Fantasy II. And then I went back and played a lot of pivotal NES RPGs after that. So I played this, I bought this with my allowance and played this after Final Fantasy II.
See, that's all you have to
Yeah.
do.
And it was good. And it was good. Like I was a weird kid who thought the NES RPG, I don't know, it is a good RPG. I don't even know what I'm saying. You have to edit all this out because I'm having like an aneurysm right now. Freedom for
Rip to
Ukraine.
We are counting on my post-editing ability too much.
All right, okay. I can do that. I'm sorry. Just edit all that out.
See, you did a personal history segment. We're so proud. Chris, do you have personal history with Dragon Quest IV?
Redacted. No, yes, I do. When I was 17 or 18 and I had my first job, a video game store opened up in the very, very tiny town where I worked. And it wasn't even the one I lived in. I lived in an even smaller town that had nothing to work in. So anyways.
Same.
Because I'm a bumpkin. But
Same.
Yeah. And so this place opened up. This guy just opened up a little store. And I went in. And one of the things that he had was all 4 of the Dragon Quest games on NES, just right there. And Dragon Quest IV included the box. And I remember distinctly that he was charging $120 for all 4 of them. And I was like, sold. And that was the first video game purchase I made with like an actual job paycheck.
Wow.
And so I've had those games for more than half my life. And Dragon Quest IV actually, it took me a while to beat it because I was very good at collecting and buying games, but not great at playing through them. But I started Dragon Quest Friday on my Twitch stream years ago and played through all 4 of the original NES ones. In fact, I'm on 8 now, so...
Nice.
That's a lot.
This is a game that I have owned for many years and actually beaten, so hooray.
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 Yeah.
So it's actually the second Dragon Quest game I ever played. I got the first Dragon Quest from Nintendo Power, because that was a thing they were doing. Sign up for a prescription. We send you Allegra and Dragon Quest. Sign up for a subscription, and you get a free copy of Dragon Quest because nobody's buying it.
And Nestor's Funky Bowling.
Oh, Nestor. Who was Nestor's sidekick? Howard. Howard and Nestor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played the first Dragon Quest, and then I didn't touch a Dragon Quest again until much later in life. I actually borrowed a copy of this on the DS from a friend of mine named Russ. I remember I was playing it in Oklahoma while my friend Princess was interviewing with the JAG Corps at some base in Oklahoma. And I really enjoyed it. I call myself a Dragon Quest fan. What I really am is I'm a fan of Dragon Quest 4+.
Like DS remake of 4+.
I do. I've never touched the NES version.
Okay.
I've only done the DS version. It is what I played here.
I still have that cart with your save file on it. So if you ever want, I know you didn't do the bonus chapter 6. So if you ever want it back to complete that, just know that I still have your save
And that is friendship.
on my Dragon Quest 4 DS card.
I guess I should have said as well, I actually played for the DS remake on a pirate cart on the DS.
Wow.
Yar. But I actually ended up buying it myself, and thank God I did, because it's like $500 now or something.
Oh yeah, the Dragon Quest games are ruinously expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be obsessed with the series more than 10 years ago, which means that I got every single game that came out in the U.S. and did not pay very much for them.
I bought the 7 and 8 when they came out on the 3DS, and I'm glad I did.
See, I missed
yeah.
7. I've
Oh,
never
no.
played 7.
7 on the 3DS is actually my favorite one so far.
Well-
Of the 10 I've beaten.
You will get your chance.
I know. I mean, someday I'm gonna have to. But I'm just saying, I don't have 7 on the 3DS. I have 8.
I might lend it to you on the 3DS, and then I'll play the PlayStation version.
And either of y'all can download it for now.
Yeah.
Not by the time this episode comes out.
That's not legal.
No, I mean, you can buy it and download it from the eShop.
Yeah, the eShop is going away.
It's still there.
Oh,
I did forget about the eShop. The
Yeah.
only eShop games that I have are Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. So
I have a lot.
I forgot
'cause
there were other games.
I have a
on
lot
there.
because podcasts. I've reviewed a lot. So
Okay.
let's go ahead and move into story and characters before we begin a Phoenix Wright discussion.
Let's just move into a Phoenix Wright discussion. I played the first half of Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Oh, you're clicking your paper again.
Monsters are rising up across the land. Whispers of a dark lord of the underworld are spreading, and it's up to a diverse cast of characters to fight evil in their own little ways before joining up to save the world.
I like the idea of fighting evil in your own little ways. I feel like we do that every day in the United States of America. At this
Very
point.
true.
Well, I feel like we at this table might be doing that in
Yeah,
America.
that's true.
I'm not sure that America as a whole. So, as the subtitle of this game, Chapters of the Chosen may tell you, it is a chapter structure to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Although, it's like
For the-
4 or 5 brief chapters and then just
Yeah.
the game.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's 4. What would you call it? Prologues.
Yeah, essentially.
It was confusing as a kid that you name, because you name your hero and like you do in a Dragon Quest game, and you pick male or female, which you can do in this game, and then you start as Ragnar. Yeah, just a knight in purple armor, and you're like, who is this person?
I thought it was pink.
His little friend named Healy.
Purple cape, pink armor. Yeah,
It
you're
depends on which version you're. Well, it's pink, but like if you look at the NES version, it's like pink,
right. Yeah, yeah,
like real pink,
It's pink.
pink.
and Healy,
And Healy.
good old Healy.
Love Healy.
I only played this on the DS version, so I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of corrections from Russ. Well, actually, on the NES. But for me, I feel
can't
like
wait.
this game really sets the template for the rest of the Dragon Quest series in a lot of ways. I feel like there's a big difference between 3 and 4. And 4 becomes like the model of this is a Dragon Quest, and we're going to build on this for the future games.
Yeah, it's what's considered the beginning of the Zenithian Trilogy, which has to do with the up in the sky
Yeah,
place with the dragon.
They share a heaven and hell, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a thing in 4 that 5 and 6, it's not as much part of their plot, but they refer to it like reverently. Like they're like, oh, remember 4? Remember this stuff?
Yeah.
They have 5 and 6 are like that all the time. Even though 5 is, I think, the runaway, everyone's most important Dragon Quest in
Oh,
Japan.
absolutely.
Yeah, 5 is the best of this trilogy. 4 is great.
Yeah, 4
6
is really great.
6,
Well, 6 goes back to a more traditional structure after they did different things.
I think
with
5
4
is
and
the
5.
best if you're playing the remakes, but 5 was very held back on the SNES, I think, or the Super Famicom rather. I enjoyed 4 more, to be honest. But
And one thing I noticed when I was playing through this, there is never a point in the game where you're not sure what you're supposed to do next or where you're supposed to go next. The game does a very excellent job of, and that's new in the Dragon Quest series up to this
Yes.
point.
Yeah.
Where the game is very clear, like, gosh, there have been attacks to such and such town northeast of here. Thank you. Now I know where to go next.
Exactly.
The game takes, on average, about 30 hours.
Sure.
it took me
30 to 74.
It
No.
is a Dragon Quest with a casino, so always add about 10 hours on that for me.
I save scummed my way through the casino Russ was sitting
Everybody
there as
does.
I was doing it.
Everyone does. This just, you can either save scum it or you can like, save it and reset and blah blah blah. Like, the slow save scum. But that's the way to get through it.
Or you can hate gambling and not do it.
So let's go ahead and move into probably the most boring topic for a Dragon Quest game at this point.
We didn't talk about the characters at all.
You're right.
We
I'm
did
sorry.
not talk about... I'm sorry. We did not talk about Tornico Taloon.
There you go.
Let's talk characters. You're absolutely right.
Mercy. We talked about Ragnar and his pink armor.
Yeah,
And
Ragnar
then
the
you were
warrior.
just like, let's shuttle away.
I
I'm like,
apologize.
absolutely. How can you talk about Dragon Quest IV and not talk about Taloon?
Tell us about Taloon.
Taloon is the best character in this game.
I would actually I would dedicate like the innovation section to him.
Oh yes, yeah. We'll talk about him more in innovation.
Yeah.
But he is a merchant. He is a
A family man.
He's a family man. He is an ambitious father and husband who works at a weapon shop, and he wants to own his own weapon shop. And by golly, he is going to go out on an adventure, and he is going to get his own weapon shop. And he can throw sand in enemies' faces. He can do a little dance.
He could trip and fall onto them.
He
I think.
can,
Yeah.
yes. He is fantastic. He is the star of Chapter 3.
And 2 full spin-off games at least.
Yeah.
3, I think no, 4. How many Tornico games are there? Well, there's 2 that I have.
Oh, I didn't know there was more than one.
Oh,
So-
one came out in the U.S., but there
Yeah.
was a Super Famicom one. It's actually the very first mystery dungeon style game.
Mm-hmm.
That when Shiren the Wanderer came out, its Japanese title is Shiren the Wanderer 2 because it's a mystery dungeon 2 because the first one was Tornico.
Very nice.
So
Now it's
yeah,
Pokemon, but-
yeah, exactly, and Chocobo and whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like we're forgetting about Mina and Maya.
We're not. We're still on Tornico for a minute.
Tornico Taloon deserves.
He needs some time.
a lot of yes.
But yeah, he got his own like series of spin-off games, at least 3 that I know of. I think there was a 3DS game too, but I might be completely wrong. And yeah, like those are mystery dungeon style games where he goes into dungeons so he can stock his store.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
Yeah,
just wanted to-
he is great. We also have Mina and Maya, or if you're playing the NES version, Mara and Nara.
yeah.
And they are sisters who live in the desert. They live in Vegas, basically.
Yeah, essentially.
And they are Maya is a dancer and Mina is a fortune teller.
Yeah, one's an uptight, prim and proper fortune teller, and the other's an exotic dancer.
Which is weird because if you think about the occupations of dancer and fortune teller, it's like Maya is just hustling as a dancer, but Mina is like ripping people off. She's like,
But
let
if
me
people complain, her sister, the exotic dancer, can turn into a dragon.
Yeah, that's true. She can turn into a dragon.
She just has that ability.
And yeah, that's a little bit of, in the original they aren't quite so distinct from each other or have that much special going on for them. So I think they've really enjoyed a bit of a glow up in the remake.
Yeah. And then there's
They also gave nationalities. In the English translation,
Yes.
Ragnar is very Scottish.
Ragnar is Scottish, and
Mina
then
and
Mina and
Maya
Maya
are
are
Middle
like
Eastern.
Middle Eastern. Taloon is
Taloon is Cockney.
yeah. And then there's Princess Elena.
Sorry,
Who is Russian.
Tsarina.
Zarina.
Yeah.
Zarina Elena, and she is the Tsarina of a Russian
Yeah.
sort of kingdom, which is not holding up right now.
Yeah. She's Russian along with her mage and her priest.
Yeah, the court
Priest
magician,
warrior.
and then the priest. He's a priest in training who is also in love with her, which is not going to work out well for him. No.
Especially because he's not useful enough to keep around once he joins your party permanently.
So it's an eclectic cast, and it uses the chapter system. So you play through the 4 chapters of the lives of all of these people
What's interesting
before you meet the hero.
to me, and we'll do this when we do our 9-game roundup that we always do.
Mm-hmm.
But so Dragon Quest traditionally has silent protagonists, and in this game, it's still silent protagonists when they are the protagonist.
Right.
Yeah.
But in other chapters, you can run into these heroes again, and they will talk to you, and it's very strange because it's like I just spent 3 hours being that guy,
Yeah.
and he did not say a word, and now he's talking up a storm. What the hell?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember another game that does that because there is another game that does that. like an early on one, but anyway. Yeah, I like it though. And yeah, your hero really never has any lines because that's the stand-in for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's the main philosophy behind the silent protagonist. Are there any other characters we're missing?
I mean, there's all the characters that temporarily join you, but I mean, those are the main characters of the story, and the villain, the main villain, Sorrow.
Sorrow the Manslayer.
Sorrow the Manslayer.
He can get it.
As he is known in the DS version. He was just, when he transformed, he was Necro Sorrow in the NES version, but in the DS version and further updates, he is Sorrow the Manslayer.
Which is what Russ was known as in college.
And he kind of can get it. He's an elf guy, and in his like regular elf form, when he doesn't have like 6 arms and looks like a bug, yeah, he can kind of get it.
It's one of the most like when you fight that final battle in the NES version and he starts transforming into other monsters forms, you're like,
so good.
oh, this is absolutely Akira Toriyama.
Yeah.
Whereas it's hard to see his style like in the very first Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
But then like that thing starts transforming, you're like, oh, this is Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that could be right out of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Sorrow the Manslayer could be right out of Dragon Ball.
Exactly.
That final battle, maybe it should be under, I don't care. The final battle of this game is so good. Mm-hmm. Because as you're fighting him, you're like breaking off pieces of him, and then he starts growing new pieces. The guy's got, I'm not even sure if I wrote down the number, but it's something like 7 phases.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
Or 14 phases. It's some ridiculous number of phases. Whereas usually in in-boss, it's 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point,
But he's Sorrow the Manslayer.
When you're fighting the Manslayer, you have no idea when he's in his final form because you keep seeing it change, and you're just like, I just got to keep hitting him with everything I have and hope eventually he dies.
Yeah. Once his like face comes out of his torso, you're like, he's
Okay,
really going through some stuff right now.
I got it's one of my favorite experiences to have with an in-boss fight. It doesn't always happen, but when I played through it this time, it was one of those, I threw everything I had at him. All of a sudden, I'm out of MP. I'm out of healing items. So now people are just doing attacks, and when they die, they're just gone. It came down to the hero, and I'm just like, I am going to die. I am going to die. Killed him on the last turn I had.
Nice.
Because his next attack would have killed me. I love those victories when it comes down to the wire.
I guess your horse could have fought.
So, let's go ahead and move into the combat system. Now that we've
I'm sorry, we didn't talk about Primrose the horse. I'm just kidding. Her name is Primrose, though.
She's a good horse.
She's a good horse.
A very good horse.
She's not a princess that's been turned into a horse.
No. No. She is an actual horse.
She's an actual horse.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
You guys don't want to talk about, like, Hank, the temporary party member Hank?
Hank. Hector. He was Hector, I believe, in the NES version.
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
we should probably also say that I did play the NES version to review this, so that we would have
played both, but only beaten the NES version.
Compare and contrast.
I've only played the DS version, but I love it.
And I also love Healy because he joins Ragnar as just like this temporary second character that just heals you automatically.
He's also optional. You don't have to get Healy.
You don't have to get Healy.
And he's a heal slime.
He's a heal slime.
Yeah.
He's an actual monster that joins you, which is great because
slime.
that's, I think, the first time that happens in the series, and it comes back a lot afterwards.
And he dreams of being a human.
He dreams of being a human. Well, he says human in the original, but I love the slime puns. But yeah, he dreams of becoming a human one day, and then you meet him later as the hero, and he has become a human and never explains how or why.
He's just a bard now.
Yeah, he's just a guy now, and he's like, hey, I used to be a slime, and I helped this guy called Ragnar or something. You know, he was like very matter-of-factly. Do you think he's going to join you again or something? But no. I just love Healy's little arc that is none of our business.
I finally became a real boy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, okay.
How'd you do that? Shut up.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Okay, now really, combat system.
But what is there to say about the combat system? I mean, come on. It's a Dragon Quest game.
Yeah, I mean, it is typically when I'm describing these games, because we don't show visuals on a podcast, I start with either Final
You're
Fantasy,
welcome,
which is
everyone.
side by
Nobody
side.
needs to see this face.
It's either the Final Fantasy, which is the side by side, or it's the Dragon Quest, which is first person facing the monster, and you don't necessarily see your party.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's what this is. It has not changed a lot.
I did want to point out that in the version that you played, you have the option to set up tactics for your party members or control them directly.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the NES version, you only get to control the characters that are the main characters of the chapter that you are on, which means that in Chapter 5, the majority of the game, you can control the hero and nobody else.
I hate that in games when I can't control the whole party.
So that is when Taloon starts throwing sand in people's faces or doing all the things that he does. That is also when Christo starts casting the insta-death skills over
Every time.
and over and over again, even though they have almost no chance of working, and
It's
just
like
wasting his turn.
It's like his romance with Alina. It's just not going to happen, dude.
It will never happen. Just
You
stop
keep doing it. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
It is interesting that from basically here on out in Dragon Quest games, the main character, the hero, is one of the best healers in the game. Which I think is interesting because in terms of Final Fantasy, right, it's always the girl white mage over there. That's our healer versus our hero. Dragon Quest just goes, no, the hero's also a healer.
Yeah.
That's just how we're doing it.
I don't know of any other games that do that.
Earthbound.
That was
True.
a joke, but thank you. That's
Oh.
exactly what I was going for. Is making Jeff say that.
It is uncommon.
It is uncommon.
It is. Yeah.
Grinding in Dragon Quest games feels less like a burden to me because I love games that have like a grind monster that you look for, like, ooh,
Oh.
this place has got metal slimes. I'm going to
yeah.
hang out here for a minute, especially since metal slimes tend to run away.
It's a
It's an
challenge.
accomplishment to kill a metal slime. So it all of a sudden you're already playing a game, but it's like a game within a game of trying to kill these metal slimes. 50 of the seven of them will show up, and he'll be like, "Please, just let me kill 2. Just if I could just kill 2, that would be amazing." I love games that have like that's your farmable.
Yeah.
Earthbound had foppies and criminal caterpillars.
Right.
True.
The Dragon Quest series has its metal family of slimes.
Yeah. I also just like the monsters in Dragon Quest games. I mean, obviously, it's become a whole franchise called Dragon Quest Monsters, but in the same vein as Earthbound, like, it's fun just seeing what monsters you'll run into in different territories.
And
'cause they're
also,
also cute.
It's
Interesting.
kind of nice to play through the series like itself because you get to see like a few new monsters, but a lot of old monsters.
And it's interesting whenever a unique monster from a previous game kind of shows up again, either as a more common enemy or still as that unique monster.
Yeah.
I thought, because I noticed when I played through it this time, I beat the game at level 35, which feels like a very low number to beat a game at.
It's pretty good for Dragon Quest, yeah, actually. You hardly ever reach past like 40
Yeah.
in any of them, I think.
But
Even 7, which is like over 100 hours minimum.
Yeah, 7 is a whole thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But let's go ahead and move into something we can talk about: innovations.
Well, chapter-based for one in a game
Right.
in 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. This is going to be one of those things where you guys are going to have to correct me for NES versus DS, but mini metal collecting?
No.
They brought that for the first time in 5, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There are temporary guest party members. We mentioned one of them, Hank something or other.
Well, Hank Hoffman Jr.
Yes.
is his name in the DS
Hank
version.
Hoffman Jr., who creates a city
Yep.
that you can then recruit people in the world to join your city, kind of like Breath of Fire 2. Although the problem is that is largely geared toward using the DS Street Pass system,
Uh-oh.
which doesn't exist anymore. So a chunk of that gameplay is just missing.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of building your own city and recruiting characters from the world to migrate to your city and bring their skills or their shops or whatever. I like that, so it's fun to have that in this game.
I find it to be superfluous nonsense, but
Yeah.
There's
I
nothing
don't mess
wrong
with
with the
I'm
occasional
glad that you
superfluous
enjoyed
nonsense.
it. Yeah. Everybody, I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum.
It's the first time in this series where all the party members have personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. 3 was generic, and 2, I mean, who cares about the Princess of Moonbrook? To be
Yeah.
honest.
They didn't have personalities, they had names.
They don't even have consistent names. It's different
Yep.
every time you play a new game.
Well, no, Russ told us there's some kind of formula
Well, yeah,
whereby
There's a there's a way that you can
there's
like
a
name
list.
your hero in a certain way, and then you'll get certain names.
But then your hero's name is
There's
gobbledygook.
literally like an FAQ about how to get the names
Sweet.
for the characters
Sweet.
in Dragon Warrior 2. Interestingly, in the DS version, the characters would have even more personality and do in the Japanese version because you have that party talk system from like 8 and 6 and 5. In the English version, it was cut. So they did not translate any of the party talk in the DS version, but they did do it in 5 and 6.
I loved the party talk in 7. 8 was pretty good too because I love the characters in 8 so
Yeah.
much. But anyway,
this
except
game
Angelo.
also begins the tradition of after game content. After you beat
Very
the
true.
game, there is more story. And it's significant story in this case. It gives redemption to the character of Sorrow.
Well, if you're
the
talking about, I mean,
Manslayer.
that's in the DS version.
Yeah.
If you're talking about Chapter 6.
Well, it's what I played, so
It
yeah,
is what
I
you
am
played,
talking
yes.
about it.
That is true.
You can recruit Sorrow during that after game content,
Interesting.
That's when he can get it.
and he does.
I also liked the even in the NES version, I liked the whole story about like Rose, the elf that cried the ruby tears. And I remember being a kid and being like genuinely sad because you can go to an inn in a certain town and you have dreams about Rose, the elf that cried the ruby tears. And they're like these men that have like kidnapped her and they're like beating her to force her to cry so that they can get rubies. And it was so sad. It was so sad. And then later
And-
you meet her and she's locked in a tower.
With what we had available on the NES at the time, I mean, that was unheard of.
Yeah, that was an outstanding story for an NES game.
Yeah.
It's very rare in JRPGs. Well, I don't want to say very rare. It is uncommon to have the sympathetic antagonist. Like, Sorrow is coming from a place we can understand. It's not just, I must rule the world. It's,
right.
I've encountered these evils in the hearts of
Yeah.
men, and so men must die.
I mean, there was a reason that Sorrow the Manslayer wanted to slay men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So-
no Hargon. It's just
No.
like,
Whereas a lot of JRPG villains are just mustache twirling, I must destroy the world.
yeah, that's Hargon.
Yeah.
And whoever is in 3, I don't even remember anymore. I beat the game and I don't remember.
Yes, 3 is just, I am Zoma and
Oh,
I am
that's right. Yeah.
want to take over the world because I have the dark world and I want the light world. And
Right. Okay.
Whatever.
I do somewhat remember. I only remember kind of how the fight went, which is it went way better in 4.
the Zoma was not the boss was not the point of 3. The oh my god moment of 3 was going
Erdrick.
to the world from the first game and then
Yes.
finding out you're the legendary hero.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
it had its
the plot
mind-blowing
twist,
moment,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it just wasn't the boss.
Back to 4.
Yeah, back to... Well, that's all I have for innovations. Is there anything...
Talon, absolutely. Like the
The
fact
whole
that you,
chapter.
his
yeah.
whole
His whole
chapter
chapter.
is you do some fighting, you do some walking around talking to people, but it really is all about managing the store. You sell items to people who come into your store and are like, I want this sword for this much money, and they give you that money, and then like you've done your job. And like it's just incredible. Like
It's about raising money. You technically, I know I watch like speed runs of it, and you technically don't have to fight in that chapter. You just
No.
have to earn enough money to buy your own weapon shop.
You can also acquire a rare weapon. The odds are against you, but they
Yeah.
can come in with a weapon that is overpowered for where you are in the game, and then you just keep it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not selling this back.
Yeah.
yeah. It's and
Cautery sword.
they wouldn't do anything like that in an American released RPG for a long time. Like any kind of like, here's an alternate way to play this game, and that's like stuff that like happens all the time in like indie games nowadays. Like, you know, your Undertales or whatnot, where it's like, you know, forces you to think from a different perspective, basically.
Right.
This is like the first, I think, instance of American audiences getting that from a console RPG.
I've long wanted to have a game where you play a JRPG shopkeeper, and I know some of them exist, but largely the real premise of the game is you go adventuring to stock up your store as opposed to actually running the store. There's got to be a way to make an indie game where you really are the shopkeeper and the adventurers that are saving the world come through your shop.
I think one exists on the 3DS. I'll have to look into that. Get back with you on that.
And there's something, I have to look into it too. There's something on Steam where you play. It almost reminds me of an Atelier game, but again, with not the adventuring. I think it exists.
I hope it exists.
Yeah.
I feel like it should exist. I would be interested in giving that a shot, just as a different experience.
Yeah.
Well, if that's all we've got, then it's Chris's moment to shine.
Yay.
Oh, I get to talk about the art. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, let's talk about the music of Dragon Quest IV, which is so different than the music of Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, 5, 6.
This is the dark and gritty reboot.
So let's move into the music.
Okay, so the music of Dragon Quest IV, the joke here is that the music of Dragon Quest is very consistent. And that's, you know, due to Koichi Sugiyama being, up until recently, the composer of the whole series. And, you know, I guess we're going to talk about him separately. But anyways, yeah, for this game, it's really, really interesting, though, to, like, kind of go from... Because the compositional quality... It's coming from a composer, an actual composer of film music, classical music, who had 20 years of experience prior to the first Dragon Quest. Like, he started in the 60s. So, you know, this is a seasoned veteran of music who has been composing for these 8-bit systems for 3 chapters now. And so it's really interesting to see not the evolution of the compositions themselves, but what kind of technological advances had been made on, you know, the same system that the first Dragon Quest is on. Because, you know, that game, great compositions, but, you know, very, very basic. This one, as soon as you load it up and you hear, like, the dun 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 dun, you know, like this huge fanfare of, like, arpeggios and stuff coming in, like this whole other sequence of notes and stuff like that, just, like, barreling in, and you just hear, like, this really fleshed out version of this 8-bit theme that you recognize. And then you're just like, that's a really good moment. So as far as, like, the music in the game goes, I argue that this might have the most memorable battle theme of any of the Dragon Quests. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's just, like, as bombastic as it is, and just, like, these chromatic runs, those little gallops that, like, come back and forth. I don't know. It's just, like, it's such a cool theme, and it's so different from, you know, basically everybody else's attempts at, like, prog rock, you know, whatever. It's like, this is, like, actual classical, and it's, like, just Stravinsky-like, and it's, you know, being just overly complicated compositionally speaking. So yeah, there's a lot of impressive stuff here, but then when you come down to it, like, what it really kind of boils down to is that there's different overworld themes, which is great, including the Ragnar one, which is reminiscent of the first overworld theme.
That's what I was going to point out. My favorite thing about the music in this game is that there's different themes for each character.
Exactly. And even though you have, like, the same, like, kind of castle themes and town themes and stuff, it's like there are enough different things that happen that really underscore, like, the different places that you find yourself with different people. And it goes even further that, you know, each kind of, like, Alina has kind of a different theme, and, you know,
I especially
has his own theme.
Yeah, he has his own theme. I especially liked Maya and Mina's.
Yes.
That was the real standout.
Exactly. And they all sound like kind of from different parts of the world, even though you can't quite place them. But, you know, of course, the DS version helps to kind of, you know, they give them accents, and, like, they really kind of drive home that these are different people who speak different languages and they're from different places.
That Mina and Maya battle theme always,
that's, like, really good.
Pumped me up in a way that other ones didn't.
Yeah, that one's really good. It's like a kind of almost not a flamenco, but like
Yeah, it feels like they're dancing.
yeah, it's a dancing theme instead of like
Yeah.
like a driving like war theme. So yeah, you get like the music helps you give more of a sense of the characters than even the writing does, and I feel like that was a good accomplishment. The only real other thing I'll say about it is that I think the ending theme to this game, like the ending and the credits, is one song. It's just under 10 minutes. I believe it's the longest non-repeating song on the NES in the entire library. I could be wrong, but I know that Neil Baldwin's songs tend to be on the long side. They can be up to 5 to 7 minutes before they loop. But this is like the entire ending and credits are one continuous thing, and yeah, it goes for just about 10 minutes, and then that's the end.
Wow.
And it's fantastic. Like, you won't ever, like, if you just listen to, like, Dragon Quest ending theme, like, you put that into YouTube or Zofar or something like that, you'll get the 3-minute and 2-second version. Seek out the actual ending, and that's, like, 10 minutes or so in order to hear this whole song. It's actually kind of hard to find.
Good to know.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to our final thoughts.
So, final thoughts, is it? This game is great. It's just great. It's great for an NES game and just great for a Dragon Quest game. I like the chapter system. I like the personality that adds to the characters. Like we talked about in the music section, I like the different battle themes and overworld themes. I also like that even though it's not practical, in the final chapter, you can just put those characters from that chapter in your party, and you can get your overworld and battle theme back from that chapter. So if you want to hear Mina and Maya's theme, then you just put just them in your party and you get it back. Very cool. I definitely love this game. It's fantastic. I don't really know what else to say. It's Dragon Quest.
Chris?
This is definitely my favorite of the 4 NES Dragon Quests by a long shot. It's the only one I played on DS so far, though, so I can't say anything there. But no, this game was a really good experience. When I streamed through it, I found some parts of it a little bit irritating, and I can't even remember why. I was just like, that's all Dragon Quest games to me. I think that this game just super excels at showing where RPGs could go at a time before any of them got even like near that, because I know Final Fantasy IV was kind of like the one that set the template for American-based RPGs, but I just really, really enjoy that Dragon Quest IV went for so much in building its own world, like with its people and stuff like that, instead of just being an outfit to get from point A to point B, So I really super respect this one, and it's like in my top 3 of all Dragon Quests. So there we go.
So I already said in this review, even when I say I'm a fan of Dragon Quest, I mean starting with 4. It is a turning point in the series for me. I think it's great. I give it an A, and the only reason it's not getting an A+ is because I know 5 is coming, and 5 is just that much better. But it is definitely it's a great experience playing through the game. I find it comforting. I find it relaxing. It's easy to sit back and enjoy this game. So many kudos to this game just for sheer enjoyability. Russ, if they want to play Dragon Quest IV.
Oh, you've got a lot of options. You can play it on your phone. Yep. There's the NES version, there's the DS version, there's the phone version, which is essentially the same as the DS version. It might be on Steam. I think maybe they're on Steam now. I don't know. I
don't think so, but I don't know. Go look.
Go look. Everybody open Steam. Check and see if the Dragon Quests are
I hope
there.
it is, because then that'll mean it'll come out on Switch as well.
Yeah.
I can get it.
Yeah, it's pretty readily available.
And in Japan, they remade it on the PlayStation.
They did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go ahead and do some quick plugs for media. Russ, I'm going to share a plug with you if that's okay.
Oh, sure.
Can we do a plug together?
We can do a plug together.
I want to
Unless I abjectly, don't believe in whatever you're plugging.
I want to talk about our favorite online Canadian comedy troupe.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Loading Ready Run.
Yeah, Loading Ready Run.
Loading Ready Run is...
Hi, Adam. Hi, Ben.
Loading Ready Run is, like I said, an online Canadian comedy group. They have been making
Hi,
videos
Kathleen.
since the early 2000s. I watched them in college. About 5-6 years ago, they went from making sketch videos to Twitch streamers.
Mm-hmm. It's weird that they've been around for... I mean, I know they've been around for that long, but I didn't know about them until you introduced me to them, like 2 or 3 years ago?
Something like
Maybe
that.
3 years ago. Something like that. And, yeah...
So on Twitch, it's Loading Ready Run. They stream something almost every day of the week, sometimes multiple times a day, because it's a large group of people. So they all just stream the things that they're interested in.
Right.
And similarly, if you're going to enjoy it, find the stuff you like and just watch that.
Yeah, you can find something in...
My personal favorites are Watch and Play, which is where Graham finds garbage, horrible games and forces Alex to play them without knowing what they are, and Alex has to suffer through them. It's a little like Mystery Science Theater for video games. Mm-hmm. I also like Loading Ready Live, which is... they do like a live variety show once a month. So I've seen every episode of those two. What do you like?
You know what I like. I like Let's Nope, where Ben and Adam play horror games and make fun of them. Hi Ben. Hi, Adam. And I'm really enjoying Kathleen's Play It Forward, where they play a whole game from beginning to end. It's different people playing different games, and right now Kathleen is playing Shin Megami Tensei 5.
And this is also, and we'll probably do a little announcement about this later, but this is also the group that does Desert Bus every year, which Russ and I love. I take...
Desert Bus for Hope.
Yes.
Charity stream.
They play the world's worst video game, Desert Bus, and the more money they raise, the longer they have to play it, 24/7 until basically they... So the first hour of play costs $1. The next hour costs $1.07, and it keeps going up at about, it's either 12 or 7% each time. Mm-hmm. And eventually they reach a point where it would take the GDP of a small country to keep them going for another day. So it tends to run for about a week. I take the whole week off work. Russ comes into town, and we glue ourselves to the couch.
Yeah.
They do skits, and they do requests, and guests come in, and they do giveaways and auctions, and it's a really good time. So yeah, we're plugging Loading Ready Run. Go find them on Twitch. They're a good time.
They're great. Yep.
Chris, did you want to plug something?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so what I would like to plug is the Mad Gear, which is a video game cover group that I've recently been getting more into them lately, but what I love about them is that their YouTube presence is amazing. They do a music video for every song that they put out, basically, and a lot of them are like music videos filmed outside of like a public storage, but like in really good quality with like real dancing and stuff. It's amazing. And they recently did one called the Mad Gear 64 where they covered the damn music from GoldenEye.
Nice.
And they did it in N64 style. That is to say, one of them actually created like N64 graphics for the entire band and did an entire video. And I really recommend people check it out.
Great.
Nice. Yeah.
Sounds like a great time. All right. So join us next time for 7th Saga.
Yes.
But we didn't play sagas 1 through 6.
I know. I'm breaking my own rules.
Good.
Because
Finally.
they don't exist.
At last.
All right. We'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Bye.
Home on the RNG is a presentation of Mad Centaur Productions. You can find Jeff on YouTube at youtube.com/Centaur Productions or on Twitter at Jeff Centaur. You can find Russ on Twitter at RussMac25. You can find Chris on Twitch at twitch.tv/LiarExaggerate or on Twitter at EnrichFlavor. Thank you for listening, and remember to save your game before powering off this podcast.
Bleep bloop bloop. Bloop bleep bloop bloop. I am Anne Heche, and I am a reptile, and this is my alien language. No, I don't know what's happening to me.
I don't know what that was, and I'm scared. Hey, everybody. Oh, God.
I was testing the microphone, and that was my way to do it.
It's always nice when we have bloopers.
Mm-hmm. Mouth noises.
No, I meant the squids from Mario so I could throw them at you.
They would go. That's the blooper noise.
I've always wanted to be on an NPR program.
The blooper noise is a bloop bloop. It's in the name.
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Hey, everybody.
Hold for applause.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
I'm really done now.
But hang on. Give me a little bit of an edit break here, so I don't want to mess up the name.
So I says to Mabel, I says,
Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
It's a band, and I think I got their name, but
boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and.
okay, I'm ready.
Oh, okay.